I am angry, sad, pissed off, and just disappointed in this 2026 World Cup when it comes to the Portuguese national team. So many high expectations rolling into this tournament. I said pre tournament, this would be their best team they have ever fielded at a major tournament. I was very confident in that. They were fifth in the FIFA rankings heading into this tournament. FIFA and the world were confident in Portugal. Outside of France, Argentina, and Spain as your top three, they were right there at the top of maybe that next group with Brazil, England, those sorts of teams. And they fell flat on their face against Spain in the knockouts. And they did it to themselves. And I think that's what's the most frustrating part of this whole thing. Getting back, it's been hours since this game ended, and just thinking about it, texting with friends, talking with family members, just how disappointing this team was. Roberto Martinez announcing after the match, out, done coaching the Selecao, which I think a lot of people are happy about. A lot of talk about how Martinez ruined the golden generation of Belgium. Well, he was part of the problem that ruined this golden generation of Portugal. A lot of people will sit there and blame Cristiano Ronaldo because that's going to grab headlines. If you watch the game today, was Cristiano Ronaldo the difference in winning or losing? No, he was not the difference. He was not helpful, but everyone's going to point to him and say, well, that's why you lost. The 41-year-old guy, he's still out there. If Gonzalo Ramos is in that game, are you confident they score? I'm not. That midfield, the world-class midfield that I and so many others said going into the World Cup were the best midfield in the world, without a doubt, looked very mid. They didn't look like world-class players, elite players. Bruno Fernandes, Vitinha, João Neves. That triangle, that trio, I thought would be the reason they would be carried to, at a minimum, the quarterfinals. But in my opinion, it was semifinals or further for how talented this squad was. Take Ronaldo out of the picture. And they couldn't even get there. And again, they did it to themselves because of what happened in the group stage. So there was a lot to get to, of course, with the matchup against Spain, losing 1-0 on Monday. And there's so much other things to get to because of the road they had to take, because, in my opinion, they didn't take the group stage serious enough. So as we enter a new wave of Portuguese footballers with Vitinhas and João Neves and the younger guys, Nuno Mendes, how important was he getting off the field today when he was injured? Games seemed to change a bit when he was off the field. You now have the end of an era with, of course, one of the greatest scorers, the greatest scorer of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo. So how does that look moving forward? That's something else we're going to talk about. But unequivocally, this is a failure, top to bottom, an absolute failure of a tournament for the Portuguese national team. I can't believe I'm saying it. I am absolutely stunned, which maybe I shouldn't be based off all the other World Cups with talented Portuguese squads that seem to fall flat and seem to fall earlier than they should. But I thought this team was different, and I was wrong. And a lot of people were telling me, I don't know about that team. They don't have maybe the killer instinct. They don't have the proven track record together, which was all fair heading into this. I was buying the upside of Vitinha and Neves as teammates coming in from back-to-back Champions League titles, and really were going to carry the load for this midfield, and that would be the difference. Even though Ronaldo is 41 years old, and even though he's not the same player he was in every other World Cup he's played in, it wasn't going to matter because these guys were going to get him the ball in the box, point blank, and goals would be had. I thought Bruno Fernandes, after a record-setting season in the English Premier League for Manchester United, would give you more than you got. How many chances were created by those three? Not nearly enough. And that is so, so frustrating because, again, that's who I thought would carry Portugal. It'd be Nuno Mendes on the left side. It'd be that trio of the midfielders. It almost didn't even matter. You want Pedro Neto out there? You want Rafael Leao out there? João Felix? Conceição? Pick your winger. It's not going to matter because that midfield was so talented. And we know they are for their club. It did not translate to country. So let's talk about the group stage before we actually get to this game because if Portugal took the group stage seriously, they wouldn't be playing Spain in the round of 16. So you have that terrible first game against the Congo where you go up early and you're sitting there thinking, the guys like me who are confident in this team are thinking, here we go. That João Neves header for the goal early within the first, 8 to 10 minutes of that game? All right, here we go. Portugal's going to get the win. Sit back the rest of the game. All these backward passes. No creative thinking. No attacking mindset at all for anyone in the team. Whether that stems from Roberto Martinez or the players themselves, you can fight about that, but they're at least partially on the players and at least partially on the manager for not changing it as the game went on. Obviously frustrating. They tied to Congo by Congo getting that nice goal later on in the match. But again, no emphasis on trying to get the second goal to get the 3 points. So you tie with the Congo. All right, is the sky falling? No, you have an opportunity your next 2 games, but everyone knew heading into these group stages, when the schedule was released, you had Colombia in your 3rd game, and that was the big opponent in your group. And now it looked like you were probably going to have to beat them to win the group. All right, you scored 5 goals against Uzbekistan. Ronaldo as a brace. Probably should have had a hat trick, missed a couple opportunities. And that was fun. It was a fun watch. We didn't learn anything from that one. You're thinking maybe that's a reset. Maybe it's get the confidence going, right? Well, then you go into Colombia and Miami for the 3rd game, and you got to win the group. And I was praying, please take this seriously. Continue what you did against Uzbekistan. Create chances and show the world that this midfield isn't just a bunch of guys who can play well for their clubs. They can do it on soccer's biggest stage. Against Colombia, they don't. It seemed like they didn't even care. You could talk about the fans there. The Colombians were going crazy, and I like the Colombian team. Luis Diaz is a great player. They have some other very good players. It's a fun team to watch. But you're telling me you couldn't at least try more? Colombia had twice as many shots. That's inexcusable when you're trying to win your group and go to what looked like at least the easier side of the bracket for the first couple of matches. Say whatever you want once you get to the quarterfinals on. Who knows? But you'd probably have a better chance of being there. But because you didn't take that game seriously and you tied and didn't even score a goal, you're playing Croatia, which, depending on who you ask, you maybe would have been going to PKs with if that late goal wasn't allowed or was allowed. Now, I don't think that goal should have counted at the end of the Croatia game, but you yourself as a team put yourself in that position to face Croatia. Again, an aging team, and they really should have. That game should not have been as close as it was, for my opinion. The rosters, you look at them on paper, but unfortunately, Portugal is becoming a team you just look at on paper. Because when you watch them, you don't see what you expect from these guys and what they produce for their leagues and for their clubs. And so then you draw Spain. And you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 2, 3, 4 freaking times, shame on me. And I keep, once again, just thinking, this will be different. This will be different. They beat Spain in the Nations League final last year. That was fun. That was a trophy. Spain took that game seriously. That was fun. And I'm sitting there watching the match pretty evenly today. And one thing came through my head in the first half. As the half ends, I'm just worried that Spain's going to get a quick goal to take the lead heading into halftime. And I'm wondering, why is Rafael Leao not starting? If you think back to the Croatia game, Rafael Leao had his best game. He should have been the man of the match, in my opinion. I mean, Gonzalo Ramos had the amazing header, of course, to take the lead late in that game. Rafael Leao was making runs all day long, put in a couple dangerous balls, and he had the cross to Gonzalo Ramos to take the lead and eventually win the game. So we're just not going to have him out there. João Felix, been up and down in this tournament. You've seen some good moments. You've seen some bad moments. And it seems Pedro Neto apparently is untouchable. He's starting on that other side, and I don't know what he brings. In these games, especially against a team like Spain, one of the favorites, likely to probably go to at least the semifinals at this point, and beat Belgium. We know Belgium defeated the US. You need moments of brilliance. And you have players who can deliver that. We've seen Vitinha do that. We've seen João Neves do it, Bruno Fernandes, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo in past years, maybe not right now. Rafael Leao can do that. But we're just rolling out Pedro Neto, and I don't understand it. And I think Roberto Martinez is stubborn with some of this stuff. Why is he out there? You need that singular pass or shot or play or just the raw athletic ability of someone like Rafael Leao with speed to make the difference, create those chances that get you the goal to get ahead, that get you the goal to take the lead and hopefully win the game. And we're just comfortable with the same guys. And I don't know why, if it's a comfortability thing, if it's, oh, well, maybe Neto doesn't turn the ball over as much. Well, you need chances, you need risk. There needs to be some risk. And it seemed like once again, that didn't matter in this matchup. One of the most frustrating parts of the whole tactics and game plan and strategy is their lackadaisical sort of approach to trying to get the ball in dangerous situations in the box. Not nearly enough throughout this tournament, certainly not enough today. And so as we talk about that lineup, and Pedro Neto, I know I'm picking on him. Can Selecao not get some minutes? He looked good in the friendlies leading up to this. He didn't play much at all in this tournament. Couldn't find time for him out there. Why not? That's a question I would like answered. I don't think Pedro Neto or João Felix really added a whole lot in this tournament, in at least games that mattered. I think Rafael Leao was the only winger up top that really made any sort of plays, any sort of difference in the games. Now Nuno Mendes goes down, and one of my keys to this game was Nuno Mendes locking up Lamine Yamal as he did last year in the Nations League. That is important. And Nuno Mendes early on had a couple opportunities bringing the ball up that created some chances. We also know how dangerous he can be. On the right side, João Cancelo had a couple opportunities, missed them pretty badly, but creating chances from your right and left back. All right, well, where are the midfielders? Where are their chances? We see these passes from Bruno Fernandes to his teammates in Manchester. Little flicks, beautiful balls, through balls, over the top, on the ground. Where is any of that? Is that the strategy? Is that the coach? Is it too many guys who are ball dominant in that midfield with that trio I was talking about? Is that part of the problem? Because that's something that needs to be studied looking at the future tournaments, because those are the guys at the Euros in 2 years. That's still probably the same three guys you would want out there. So what changes? Just no killer mentality. And I know, again, everyone wants to talk about Ronaldo. It doesn't matter who is up top if your midfield is so bad at creating chances. And again, this should have been one of the midfields where you look at the tournament, and if they're not scoring, all right, maybe Ronaldo is a problem. He had 8 opportunities point blank in front of the net because Bruno made that through ball. Vitinha made a great play. Nuno Mendes had a great cross in, and he just didn't bury him. I mean, what opportunities did he have out there? And you can talk about pressing. Sure, maybe Ramos presses a little better. He's obviously younger, maybe a little bit more athletic and fast at this point. Does that really matter? Does that really make the difference if you have no service from world-class players? I don't think it does. And then I look at the substitutions, which, in my opinion, came a little late. I would have liked these probably even sooner. Nuno Mendes goes out, so of course you replace him. Nelson Semedo goes in. Okay. Diogo Dalot. I like what he has brought in some of his games earlier in the World Cup. I was cool with him coming in for Cancelo. Rafa Leao comes in. All right, cool. Like I was not big on Rafa coming into this tournament. He did not have a great end of the year with AC Milan. But again, for raw ability, that's a guy that can change the game very quickly. All right, we need some of that. Get him in there. And then Francisco Conceição, Chico Conceição comes in, and I thought in that game against the Congo, when he came in that first one, when they're looking for a goal, he's a guy that provided that spark. He is what I think Portugal has in the super sub. I don't think Rafa's that. Rafa needs to start. And then someone like Conceição comes in to be the super sub because he's just someone looking to put balls in the box. He's making creative movements, creative moves on the ball. I really like Conceição. Would have liked him in there earlier. Bernardo Silva also comes in. And so they're kind of like, at that point, Bernardo goes in and it's like, all right, he's trying to set the midfield. You got a couple new wingers in there. Dalot as a right back can make some moves forward, but it's just too late, too little. And then all of a sudden, 90 plus minutes, a great run, from Spain, back of the net. And Diogo Costa was great again, making some big saves for Portugal. And without him, I don't. They might not have gotten through Croatia. Although there were moments in that game he was making some questionable decisions, but he makes big saves. One of the most underrated goalkeepers in the world, in my opinion. Still surprised he has not gotten to a bigger club outside of Portugal. Now, with those saves, you're wondering about the defense. I mean, again, I talked about this last time. Is Gonzalo Inacio seemed to be the guy heading into the friendlies leading up to the World Cup? Well, then it's Vega. All right, no Inacio. It's Ruben Dias and Inacio. Fine. If that's the way you want to roll, okay. I guess that we've seen enough, or Roberto Martinez has seen enough to make that decision. And going into this tournament, I thought the center backs were going to be the problem. Ruben Dias was hurt, wasn't in form. What's that going to look like? What's that pairing going to look like? We're so used to Pepe being back there for these major tournaments for Portugal. So it was disappointing to see that right towards the end, guy sneaks in and scores that goal. Frustrating as hell because it seemed like Portugal were content just playing for a nil-nil tie to go to extra time, maybe PKs at some point, and there was no just urgency. Again, there's just no urgency. I don't know why. There needs to be risk. It seemed like Spain was going to get their goal. They had some better opportunities, more consistent possession, more consistent opportunities than Portugal. And when they had the chance to counteract on a turnover or counterattack, it seemed like they just were, okay, we got a few guys up there. We could make a move out. We'll pass it sideways. We'll pass it backwards. Make a run. I mean, that first goal, I think back to the Cape Verde Argentina game, which was the game of the tournament probably. Messi just started making a run in the box. Guy puts it over the defense, right on Messi's foot. Boom, knock it in. It just seemed like Portugal were. It had to be so many passes. It's almost like a game you teach kids. All right, make 8 passes before you take a shot. You don't need to do that every time. It becomes predictable. It's easier to defend. There's no urgency. The defenders, I wouldn't say they're falling asleep, but they're probably like, all right, no one's really making runs. This ball's not coming over my head. It's going out wide, and then it's going back. It's coming back to the middle, back out wide. Oh, it's just so frustrating. So frustrating to watch, knowing how good and talented these guys are. This isn't the Portuguese teams when Ronaldo was peaking and the guys around him just weren't good enough. Really thought this would be different. So as I think about those substitutions, it just seemed like, the last 3 minutes there, as they're desperate to try and get attempts on net, all of a sudden, oh, we got possession and we have some dangerous looks. A couple balls go, one goes just wide. The header from Bernardo Silva goes just over the bar. And I screamed at the bar I was watching it at, where has this been? Why couldn't we be creating chances like this for the past 90 minutes? When we think about this game and this tournament, that is what everyone's going to remember. The lack of chances. You're going to look at 10, 15 years, look at the roster on this team and say that's all they did. They scored a goal against the Congo, 5 against Uzbekistan. We take that one out. None against Colombia, 2 against Croatia, fine. None against Spain. And I know Spain obviously have not conceded a goal, and they've been impressive defensively through this tournament. But again, you beat them last summer, and you have very talented players. Not scoring is terrible. Is just not good enough. That's not a good enough effort. And you can say whatever you want about this take. To me, as a fan, I want moments. I want moments to cheer for and be happy and just celebrate. If you lost 2-1, you lost 3-2, and the defense was the problem, honestly, that wouldn't have shocked me. And again, not that Spain is a bunch of, awesome attackers right now outside of Lamine Yamal. They're not scoring goals in bunches, but that gives me 1-2 moments where I can just be happy and wow, they did something. There's an attacking mindset. And if at times they get overly aggressive and the defense, which again, heading into this tournament, I thought would be their weakest point, ended up failing you in the long run, I'd almost be accepting that. Where, you know what, the defense maybe wasn't good enough. João Cancelo's been up and down in recent years. He's definitely come back into form. Again, Dias wasn't doing great. We weren't sure what to get from Inacio or Vega. And obviously, Nuno Mendes left this game. In my opinion, the best left back in the world. I would have accepted that way more. I would have had those moments of thinking, okay, something's changed. They've realized they are not attacking enough. But after the Congo game, they need to attack more. All right, Uzbekistan, not a great opponent. You got 5 goals, and then they went right back to the bull crap of just no urgency. And it's just not good enough. It's disappointing and it's angry. There are times today, I've sworn a lot. I would really keeping it together here for YouTube to try not to swear. So if any kids come across this, it's fine for them to listen to. It's just so frustrating that once again, this is how you exit the tournament. And they did it to themselves. I'm happy Roberto Martinez is leaving because you see Belgium beat the US. Well, that's the guy that apparently held back Belgium, and all of a sudden they're going to a quarterfinal. I did not expect that. I thought the US was going to beat Belgium, and there they go. Was Roberto Martinez holding people back or holding this team back? Was Roberto Martinez not willing to make the big change and put Ronaldo on the bench? Not even just to substitute him, but to stick him on the bench. To me, that is a big talking point that gets headlines, and we'll talk about it. But at the same time, it all falls back on the midfield. And I think it's very simple. If you're not creating chances, and you in some of these games, they had the possession. It was either 50-50, close to it, or Portugal had the majority of possession and still couldn't create chances. And just watching PSG and how they operate and how Vitinha was the man of the match in the Champions League final. You come into this, are you tired? You played a lot of soccer the last 2 years. Like, and I don't say that as being a jerk in any sort of way. I'm just genuinely, what was it? Obviously, it's a very different system at PSG with different players. You have very different wingers with Dembele and Doué and all these other guys. I just, it's unacceptable to lose this way. As I was saying, if they had more attack focused strategies and game plans, you lose 2-1 to Spain. You know what? Spain haven't conceded a goal. You got one. Where are those moments of brilliance from these guys like Vitinha? Where's the takeover? You need your best players to take over. And again, everyone's going to say, well, Ronaldo? No, I'm not talking about Ronaldo. I'm talking about the guys who are champions in the Champions League, guys who are setting records in the EPL for assists in a season. Where are those guys? They didn't show up. And that's the most disappointing part. So as we look ahead 2 years to the Euro, what's that team going to look like? We know they're going to have a new manager. Is the manager going to have guts into forcing these guys into playing a different way? Do you need a different lineup in the sense of formation? Can you not just have Vitinha and João Neves down low with Bruno in the middle, 2 wingers? Uh, I would hope by then Gonzalo Ramos up top. What do you do? There needs to be a huge change at the Federation with the game plan, the mindset. You have the talent. You do. And there's some young players on this team from the midfield to Nuno. Diogo Costa is still going to be there. Vega's a young guy. Ruben Dias is in his prime. You're going to be back with a very similar roster, probably. It's just how are the pieces going to fit? I mean, obviously, 2 years is a long time. A lot can change. But as of right now, looking at this tournament, I don't know why Rafa didn't start pretty much every game after the first one or two. Pedro Neto starting pretty much every game. Don't love that. I don't think he adds enough to be just one of those guys that just gets the nod every time, no matter what. Frustrating. So as we look ahead to the Euro, I just think so much needs to change. And I just wonder, will it? The mentality, the formation, who is going to be the guy to step into this and say, Cristiano, we're moving on? While I don't think he is the biggest problem, is his presence a problem? There were definitely moments in this tournament where guys seemed to have open opportunities. The one I always think about is the game in Croatia. Nuno Mendes is coming right up the left side, is right on the keeper, just inside the box, nobody between him and the net, just the keeper, and he's looking middle to get the ball to Ronaldo. Rip the shot, Nuno, man. We know you can rip it. We've seen it in the Nations League. We saw it on a free kick earlier in this tournament. You can absolutely drill the ball into the back of the net. What are you doing? Take the shot. So there were definitely moments where it seemed like they were forcing it to the middle. Now, if Ronaldo is out of the picture, does that still happen? Is it just better team chemistry? Do they play more team-friendly soccer? And maybe that's the case. Is it just a change of mentality, or is it, Bruno Fernandez is really talented, but he's not going to start because that formation doesn't make sense, or that spot he has doesn't make sense? Do you need to put someone else there, or just eliminate that sort of center attacking midfielder? Because individually, outside of France and maybe Argentina and Spain, if you go down the rosters player by player, I don't think Portugal's below fifth of any nation on earth right now. Individual talent. So how is it that you can't get to, at a minimum, the quarterfinal? I would, if Portugal won this whole thing again, with the midfield leading the way, that would not have surprised me. But to end this early is just unacceptable. And I hope the Federation is looking at this as unacceptable. It's not that, well, we tried hard. Yes, we know that. Of course. Sure. But your performance was not good enough. So tell me why. Was it your tactics? Are guys tired? Was it just the wrong formation? Was it that guys are playing not out of position, but they can't all play together? You can't have three dominant midfielders together. Is it the two wingers? Did you need two attackers? Was it Ronaldo and Ramos up top that you needed? Would that have changed things if you did 2 and 2 up top? Two attackers and then two midfielders, sort of center attacking midfielders behind them. I'm also just sitting here angry as a fan, as someone who grew to love the World Cup through this federation, through this national team. Sitting here thinking nothing has changed. The Euro in 2016 is what we got. The Nations League last year is really what we got. Take the Nations League or not out of it. The Euro was a bit fluky, it seems, at this point, because other than that, it just seems like round of 16 exits. That's the ceiling. And how is that the ceiling for a team with this much talent? Look at some of these other teams that were in the round of 16. If you don't have the expanded tournament, it's you got out of your group second and lost the first match. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for this team. So I hope Ronaldo retires from international football, and I thank him because he is a big reason why I have loved the World Cup. Now, my grandfather's from Portugal. I'm not just randomly a Ronaldo supporter who supports Portugal. It's literally in my blood. But with Ronaldo, he was so important in so many big moments, not just for the country, but of course for club, and became, the GOAT debate with Messi. So we thank him for his service, and Portuguese football will never be the same because of him. And I think a lot of what has to do with them having so much talent, at least on paper right now, is because of what Ronaldo did for 20 years, plus 20 plus years. He meant so much to the country, the national team, and at times has carried them. Some pretty poor rosters into the World Cup, into the Euros, and got one international trophy there with the Euros. But it's time to move on. And again, he is not the biggest problem, but I think he was part of the problem. And so in the Euros, let's see whether you think he's the biggest problem, whether you don't think he's a problem at all, whether you think it's Martinez, whether you think it's, if they had any other strikers starting up top, they would have went further into the World Cup. Well, let's find out in 2 years. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be, again, on the midfield. Who's starting there? What's the formation? What's that going to look like at the Euros? Because to me, it didn't matter if Gonzalo Ramos started every game. Maybe in Uzbekistan, do you get 6 instead of 5? Maybe against Congo, maybe you get another one, which would have been important. So I don't want to discredit that, but I don't think that's the sole difference. What I am interested to see is the team dynamic, with maybe not forcing it and playing a little bit more free. And all right, whoever our nine is or whatever formation we're in, we're playing the best pass, we're playing the best shot. We're not looking to force anything. It's definitely going to be fascinating to see what happens from here on out. And of course, to just seeing Ronaldo on the field in tears, it's just, I just am so frustrated. This is the finale. Whether you think, again, he is a big problem, a small problem, or somewhere in the middle, it just sucks that this is how it ends. That Spain team is solid. They're good. No doubt about it. I don't think they're terrific. I wasn't watching them today being like, man, this team's going to win the World Cup. I think that's France. It's probably going to be France and Argentina in the final again. I think it's just so disappointing. So disappointing because I and so many others just had such high expectations for this team, and they weren't even close to meeting them. A quarter final minimum. Semifinal or final, depending on the matchup, would have tolerated losing in either of those games, depending on the matchup and how the game went. But round of 16 heartbreak again. And late with no urgency until after Spain scored an extra time. It's the worst kind of way to lose. And I've seen it over and over with this team again. And I guess I shouldn't be stunned, but I am stunned that it continues to happen. You think you'd want to fix the problem, but there doesn't seem to be any fixing. Euros 2028, 2030 World Cup in Portugal, Morocco, and Spain. Ronaldo better not be on the roster. It is time to rip the band-aid. A lot of people argued it should have been even before this World Cup. He should not be there. It's time to move on. Thank you for everything. It's time to move on. And at this point, it's up to everyone else, everyone that he inspired, all the people who are, 18 to 28 right now that grew up watching him. It's up to you now. You have all the talent in the world. Portuguese Soccer League, the Portuguese players, I could argue, have never been more talented than they are right now. Let's see what you got. Let's see what you got.